Good afternoon, bonjour, dobar dan, buena giornata and buenos dias, my dear friends. Once again, I welcome you to the first online International Transurfing Day that we have organized to share with you knowledge that can change your life from bottom up. It is the knowledge that gives you access to a world where the impossible becomes possible. It may sound incredible to you at the moment, but my and experiences of a large number of people around the world have been proving it for years. And I am sure that after our today companionship, you will have the same impression. You know, I'm talking about transurfing, a unique technology for achieving goals and managing events with the help of specific focusing techniques. The technique of transurfing was developed and presented to the world by Russian scientist and writer Vadim Zeland. He presented the essence of technology in a series of books of the same name, which have gone through many editions since 2004. To our great joy and well-being, Vadim Zeland continues to actively create, and his new books will enrich our knowledge and insights in the years to come. I am Biljana Jankovic, a Transurfing instructor for Balkan region. My and mission of every Transurfing instructor is to spread Transurfing knowledge and to help others in personal evolution through that knowledge. We are here to support you in applying transurfing techniques and to be the wind at your back. One of the leitmotifs of my transurfing conversations is: you must learn a new way to think before you master a new way to be. To repeat, you need to learn a new way of thinking to master a new way of life. Why is the way we think important? Which thought we nurture and spin our heads and which we reject? Thought control is a very powerful tool available to us if we are aware of it. And the head is a miracle, I have a habit of saying. And even when we are aware of a great power that thoughts have in our lives, thoughts are running through our heads not only that are not of use for us, but they can cause a serious harm. And as much as we think we know and apply everything on this topic, our thoughts are the first stumbling block in many things we want to accomplish. Most people are as happy as their thoughts allow them to be. Our strongest weapon against stress is our ability to choose the right thought, especially in so-called critical, anxious situations when the right, relaxing thought alleviates and eliminates fear, while the what if or oh no thoughts awakens even stronger and scarier triggers. Life circumstances are shaped not only by concrete actions, but also by the character of human thoughts. What are your thoughts, such as your life? Those are the familiar words of Father today in Serbia. Awareness of the freedom of choosing our thoughts leads us to the magnificent realization that by choosing our thoughts, we are also choosing our reality. Every thought is an energy that seeks to materialize. All the power to create the living conditions we want is within us, through the free choice of our thoughts. It is our free will, whether we will use this knowledge in our lives or whether we will continue to leave the responsibility for our choices of thoughts and thus words and deeds to someone else. We create our destiny within ourselves through the choice of our thoughts. Pessimistic, negative thoughts, thoughts of fear, thoughts of illness, etc., create exactly reality full of that. Beware, if you think long enough and in a proper way, quality way, that you will break your leg, the day will come when it will be manifest in the material world. Positive thoughts, thoughts of love, gentleness, tolerance, compassion, truth, responsibility, humanity, modesty, etc., create such a reality, such a material world that surrounds you. It is very important to think about what are we thinking. Every time you want to help yourself and your loved ones, be aware of the responsibility for your thoughts, as well as the magnificent possibilities that you can always help everyone through the choice of your thoughts that will create joy, happiness, health, love. That is why one of the basic principles of Transurfing is that by managing the flow of your thoughts, you will manage reality. The practical application of this principle is the basis for the application of the many, if not the most, Transurfing techniques. I believe that you are with us today because you belong to a group of people who want to hold the helm of their lives in their hands and who wants to achieve their goals. To succeed in that, it is good, but is not crucial at all, to be strong and confident in yourself. There is a furthermore effective alternative to this. So I decided to introduce you today to quite helpful Transurfing technique, coordination. I called my presentation today Coordination of Optimism. Optimism is a character trait, a tendency to look at the world with a joy, and I am, to admit, a born optimist. However, I am fully aware that even when you are 3 times optimistic, you will not be able to maintain serenity in all circumstances if everything is fine with your psyche. I recently had one of circumstance like that, and I will tell you about it a little later. The author of Transurfing, Vadim Zeland, declared himself as a pessimist in his books. But that fact does not put him and me in opposite camps, because we, respecting and using the techniques of coordination, have the same platform for acting and managing our reality, i.e., our lives. And what is coordination? Coordination is an easy way to think and act so that happiness is always on your side. Coordination means being satisfied with the thoughts of the goal as if it is already achieved, releasing the grip of controlling the scenario and moving in accordance with the flow of variance, using the pedal of pure intention. You see, we come back to the importance of thinking about what we think about, but also how we feel about it and what we do. By practicing coordination, you can achieve your goals and thus create your future. Emotionally, embrace your reality, the goal you have set, as it is now realized. Let the goal vision be alive in your mind and return to it every day with a feeling of joy, fulfillment, gratitude, etc. Let your intention be a compass and sublime emotion, wind and sound. At the same time, it is very important that you do not burden yourself and do not think about the means to achieve the goal, because it will be difficult for you to make yourself believe in the reality of a goal that is difficult to achieve. Doubts will appear, and if it existed, the previously acquired security will disappear. But if you act in coordination, changes will begin to occur in the scenario that will lead to the achievement of your goal, and only you need to discard the importance and loosen the grip of control of the scenario. Zelen especially recommends that we do not attach too much importance to anything through a special principle of coordination of importance. It is the excess potential in its pure form which affects intention, discomfort, and turmoil in our energy system, and thus this high pressure of balancing force trained by Uncle Murphy the Electric is a soul in a way that is not so pleasant. What is worst? To eliminate it, the forces of balance create problems for the one who creates the potential. By decreasing the importance, at least 50% of the problems caused by these feelings disappear in an instant. Full coordination will achieve when your soul and mind are aligned. To achieve this, it will be enough to listen to what your heart tells you and live in accordance with your principle. Living in accordance with your principle, i.e. beliefs, means that we love ourselves, accept ourselves as we are, that we are not bothered by worries of conscience and guilt, and that we act without hesitation as our minds and hearts tell us. Don't worry about what those beliefs are. You already have principles, but they, like the soul, are sealed in a holster of importance. As soon as you give up the fight for your importance, stop exposing yourself to someone else's court, and reject external importance, it will be released. And you will feel it. You will get what is considered true security, a calm inner strength, coordination. I know that many people think that they are under control of circumstances, and it seems to them that little depends on them. The fact is that pleasant and unpleasant things, people, events, happen to all of us. In order to take control of events, you need to consciously manage your behavior. That doesn't mean you should bluntly repeat that everything is fine when it's really bad. It is about waking up, that is, looking at the situation and your attitude towards it. A negative reaction to negative circumstances is nothing but a reflex and acquired habit, perhaps one of the most harmful you have. Your mind is accustomed to spoiling the mood without thinking due to any unpleasant circumstance, which is why the lifeline moves to a negative side every time where things get worse. Example. Something unpleasant happened. Then it is advisable to ask yourself questions and give answers. Is it bad? Yes, it is. Very. But if I keep thinking that way, it will get worse. Do I need it? No. That is why I consciously declare it favorable and find at least a crumb of the positive. If it doesn't exist, I don't care. It mustn't pull me to the negative side. In this way, you consciously control your relationship, and in that way, you manage reality. You woke up in your sleep. You get that reality to which your thoughts are directed. In order to get out of the reality you do not want, you need to focus on the reality you would like to have. Do not persuade yourself to love the present, but consciously move your view to the future. Thoughts should constantly return to the desired goal. From time to time, the mind should adjust from all side situation in which the goal achieved already. The goal must be in the context of the current reality to be the basis. Of course, some people are not ready to do that. The so-called negative people, those who always have the worst expectations, who think that nothing depends on them, that life is difficult, and that it will be even worse. Although they are not aware of that, such a firm belief gives them great strength, because it is nothing but the determination to have, and that is why the choice of the negative people is successfully realized. He really makes a choice, and the world meets him. It is the realization of the worst expectation in people prone to the negativism that confirms that the man is capable of influencing the course of events. Namely, according to the learning of Transurfing, every event on the lifeline has two arms in the spatial variance, favorable and unfavorable. I mentioned that branching of the lines of life into arms, so let me explain them in more detail now. Every time you encounter an event, you can choose how you will treat it. If you treat it as a positive event, at some point you will come to favorable branch of the lifeline. In contrast, the tendency to think negatively makes you complain, rebel, act on the Calimero principle. You know how he says, it is injustice, really. So you choose an unfavorable line. Thus we come to another extremely useful transurfing techniques that continues everything we talked about. Principle of coordination of intent. It consists of the following. If you decide to view an obviously negative event as positive, so be it. It may seem strange to you now, but people's experiences prove that it is a very useful point of view or attitude. Remember, no matter how difficult it may be now, the future has a pleasant surprise in store for you, provided you continue to maintain continuation of intent. That is what happened to me exactly. And now I will share my experience with you, just as I announced to you a moment ago. We all know about the coronavirus that has practically blocked the world in the least 1 or 2 years. Many things related to this virus are very unusual and strange, and this topic is widely talked and written about, but we will not go into such details. What is the fact is that virus exists, even though no one has a clear picture or where it comes from and what is the facts. It is also a fact that an extremely powerful pendulum was created around the corona on a world level, on which all of us are more or less hooked. There are talks about corona everywhere, every day, and on every occasion. Nevertheless, the topic of illness, or virus in this case, is popular in conversation as good or bad better. What you should be aware of is that by participating in such conversation, you emit energy at the frequency of destructive pendulum, that is, you accept its play, no matter what you say and in what direction you think. When it comes to such pendulums, it is extremely important to stick to the principle of coordination of importance and not to attach too much importance to all of this. It is good to have the most important information, to take all the measures that you consider convenient, but the most important thing is not to stop your life with excessive fears, stress, and stories on that topic. Now you can freely ask me a question. why we're dealing with this topic now? Because everything is not as it seems. Sometimes storms must happen in our lives so that we can enjoy sailing on calm seas. You remember that I told you that to achieve your goals, you should act by the Transurfing principle of coordination, and you not think about the means of their realization. It is essential to focus on the goal as if it achieved already, reduce the importance and loosen the need to control the scenario, and your door will open and you will find the means on your own. One of the means is the above mentioned storm, Corona. That is exactly what happened to me, and I want to share it with you because the Corona, in a way, happens to everyone, and our attitude towards all that can take us, as always, when it comes to our choices, to a favorable or unfavorable line of life. I received the Corona at the end of March this year. She managed to infiltrate to our family and start the dancing. As an optimist and a long-term Transurfer, I approached all this soberly and consciously. In the beginning, I took whatever was necessary. I realized that we were sick and that it was up to us to choose whether to play a game called illness or healing. Playing with illness means passively suffering, participating in conversation on the topic of various pains, signing, whining, capriciously asking for compassion and care from the environment. Playing a game called healing means that you are active, inquire about healing methods, strive to lead a healthy life, treat illness with humor, focus on improving your condition, strive for health, communicate with like-minded people. Thus, you'll find yourself in the role of creator, active creator and master, and you control your destiny, and that is why you move to a healthy lifelines. And I did it, cheered everybody around, took care of everything until the symptoms got worse and threw me to bed. And that is something I'll never expected, not only me, but no one for my immediate and wider environment, because I am an optimist, a Transurfer, someone who radiates and has strong energy, drives waves on the line of health and smiles, who is therefore for everyone, the engine of the family with the words and feelings of me and my friends and relatives. It was a shock to all of us. From this perspective, these symptoms were not so critical or life-threatening, but I was weak, could not function normally, eat, move or sleep. I had the proper care and support of my family. They reminded me, and I knew it myself, even though I didn't apply it enough, to transurf on the line of health. But I allowed myself that weakness, both consciously and unconsciously. And that's one of the Transurfing recommendations. Allow yourself to break down sometimes, to produce excess potentials. Do not force yourself to a constant victory. It might be worse if you start giving too much importance to the very need to keep your sense of importance to zero. It happens to each of us to bend under the weight of a problem at some point. To a greater or lesser extent, something is always bothering us. It is very difficult to give up all importance just like that. Fortunately, we have Transurfing at our disposal that offers one very interesting and very powerful technique that I have already told you about: coordination of intent. This practical example shows you how we can use it. So, instead of struggling with excess potentials, act within the limits of purified intentions. And the intention is purified in the process of movement by concrete actions. In my case, we applied that. We went again to the doctor who referred me to the COVID hospital, and the path of my recovery began. Now, thank God, my family and I are fine. Staying in the hospital brought new friends into my life, with whom I still serve on the base of support, smiles, and help. Of course, I introduced them to the Transurfing technique, and we were therefore on the health line together, even though the disease caught up with us. Because of that way, we heal ourselves faster and easier. But that's not all. I have had for years one wish, intention, goal. I have to present it that way because it is just like that comprehensive, very personal and complex, but simple. In order to achieve it, I undertook everything I have ever heard, read and learned. Primarily transurfing techniques, of course, because I believe in them the most. To admit, I did not manage at all times to attach too much importance to all this. Not to attach. Honestly, often I did, but I managed to return consciously to a controlled level. And yet, it was my heart in my mouth, I admit. And that, by a real miracle, disappeared with the corona, thanks to the corona, and this whole situation we got into as a family. The coronavirus was mean to achieve my goal. So who could have imagined that? I didn't. But that's why how transurfing works. That's the way. Brings miracle into our lives. Yesterday, I talked to a friend about all this, and he stated that he'd known that all of this has happened to me for some greater good, because otherwise it would not make sense. It didn't go with me. Then that brings us back to what we were talking about. In every unpleasant situation, try to find at least a crumb of something good, positive, and so it will be, in the end, or a new beginning. My story shows you just that. Vadim Zeland recommends that you acquire the idiotic habit of rejoicing in failures, inconveniences. It is no coincidence that proverbs were created. A blessing in disguise, or there will be no happiness if an accident did not help. So, try to change your attitude towards unpleasant situations and take a positive attitude towards them, which will, if nothing else, transfer you to a favorable line of life where you will avoid other inconvenience. Be aware that there are possibilities even if you don't see them now. Regularity forms by the choices we make at the life crossroads. If you have failed in one thing, you may have avoided some other unknown problems. With light in your heart, you should go to meet your destiny, a destiny that you create yourself. I suggest that from now on, from this moment, you think that what is happening is for your good, whatever it is. Start waves of changes in old habits, patterns, and behaviors that are holding you back. The whole world moves when you move, your world. And it is a part of a single whole, and that certainly will have a positive effect on others. That's what happened to me now, exactly. Because our layers of the world touch and intertwine, and we are all very connected. For such changes, it is extremely important to increase your energy level. Increasing your energy will help you further learn to manage your attention, and this will further lead you to the fact that you will be able to control your emotional state. and, of course, your life. You don't have to be alone in this process of increasing energy. I believe you know how good it is to surround yourself with people with good, healthy, strong energy. Connect with such people. I hope that we will continue to be together in our world where our possibilities are limited only by our intentions. I want you to transurf on the ways of the new knowledge which will allow you to choose and lead your life according to your needs. As Vadim Zeland says, there is a lot of incredible in transurfing, but I do not invite you to believe, but to check. Start the transurfing waves with good energy, health, love, and smiles. I hope you enjoyed the time we spent together. For all your questions, I am always at your disposal. I send you a big transurfing greeting and hug. Bye, Biljana.